Jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu focuses on close combat, unarmed or with a minor weapon, and its core philosophy is to manipulate the opponent's force against themselves rather than confronting it with one's own force. For this reason, its name means yielding art. It was developed to combat the samurai of feudal Japan, since there was a need to fight against armed and armored opponents without having weapons or just using short ones. Since striking against an armored opponent is ineffective, they noticed that the most effective way of neutralizing an armored enemy is through pins, joint locks, and throws, just like in judo, but using the attacker's energy against himself instead of directly opposing it. Jiu-jitsu students are sometimes taught potentially fatal or crippling moves such as joint-locking throws and break-falling skills to allow them to practice dangerous throws more safely in non-competitive settings. Judo actually comes from jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu specializes in ground fighting and grappling. The fights usually start from the ground, unlike many martial arts, with a focus on gaining a dominant position to force an opponent to submit via joint locks or chokeholds. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was first developed by a Brazilian family, after the family was taught a hybrid of traditional Japanese Jiu-Jitsu and Kodokan Judo by a traveling Japanese judoka. The family developed their own self-defense system called Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which kept evolving through generations, becoming what we know today. What makes this form unique is the fact that it uses opponents' own strength and weight against them, allowing smaller fighters to take down bigger opponents, which is very rare in martial arts. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu became famous for its effectiveness in mixed martial arts. Mixed martial arts. MMA has a history that dates back to ancient civilizations, with the modern sport emerging in the early 1990s through the Ultimate Fighting Championship in the United States. The UFC was found to answer the long-debated question, which martial art is the best? Later on, fighters in the UFC were forced to adapt to be able to fight with martial artists all over the world and developed their own styles, all while respecting UFC rules like no 12-6 vertical, karate elbow strikes, or kneeing kicking an opponent that is on the ground. MMA combines the best techniques from various martial arts, including boxing, wrestling, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai, and Judo, challenging fighters to be proficient across multiple combat ranges. It is usually considered the ultimate martial art for self-defense and street fighting. Kung Fu developed not just as a form of combat, but also as a means of spiritual growth. Some styles mimic the movements of animals, while others are inspired by Chinese philosophical concepts or historical figures. It includes dance-like movements and training with traditional weapons, while the fighters wear traditional baggy Kung Fu clothes that are similar to Aikido. Krav Maga. Krav Maga is a practical self-defense system developed for the Israeli military, focusing on efficiency and instinctive movements. Designed for real-world situations, it combines techniques from boxing, wrestling, Aikido, Judo, and karate, and uses moves that would be considered illegal, like eye pokes or biting. Practitioners learn to defend against various attacks, including grabs, strikes, and weapons, focusing on neutralizing threats quickly and effectively, such as knife and gun disarms. Because of the obvious dangers, there are no Krav Maga competitions. It is said that for a competition, you need rules, and when you have rules, it is no longer Krav Maga. Training focuses on awareness, aggression, and preparing individuals for the unpredictability of war. Capoeira. Capoeira is an Afro-Brazilian martial art that combines elements of dance, acrobatics, and music. Developed by African slaves in Brazil, it was disguised as a dance to allow practice without detection by slave owners. Capoeira is known for its quick and complex maneuvers, predominantly using power, speed, and leverage for a wide variety of kicks, spins, and other techniques. Training promotes physical fitness, rhythm, and creativity, embodying a rich cultural heritage. It is one of the most interesting martial arts out there. Wing Chun. Wing Chun is a style of Kung Fu known for close-range combat and very quick punches. Developed in southern China, its techniques focus on efficiency and simplicity. Practitioners utilize stance and structure to generate power, aiming to control the center line, the most direct route to an opponent. Wing Chun's rapid punches and close-range attacks make it effective for self-defense in tight spaces. Boxing. Boxing, often called the sweet science or the art of hitting and not getting hit, is a combat sport focusing on punch combinations, footwork, and head movement. Originating from ancient civilizations, it evolved into the modern sport known today, governed by the Marquis of Queensberry rules. Training includes sparring, heavy bag work, and various drills. Because it is so famous, it is known to be the best-paying martial art, often allowing good boxers to earn big percentages of money where other martial artists would have only made a little amount, allowing a decent boxer to live off only from their boxing income. Sambo. Sambo is a Soviet-developed combat sport and martial art that includes judo, wrestling, and traditional Russian fighting techniques, aiming at both self-defense and sports competition. Practitioners master throws like Aikido, joint locks like Jujutsu, and ground control tactics like wrestling. Sambo emphasizes quick transitions from standing to ground positions, preparing competitors for versatile and dynamic encounters. Combat Sambo, another style of Sambo, allows regular punches, kicks, elbows, and knees, as well as soccer kicks, headbutts, and groin strikes, except for standing or flying wrist bars. Tai Chi. Tai Chi, often spelled Tai Chi, is a Chinese martial art practiced for health benefits. It uses slow, flowing movements and deep breathing, promoting calmness, balance, and flexibility. Originally conceived as a fighting form, its techniques include push hands and combat applications. However, many practice it today as a means of stress reduction and exercise, focusing on the harmonious circulation of internal energy. Savate. Savate, also known as French boxing, is a martial art that combines elements of Western boxing with graceful kicking techniques, very similar to kickboxing and Muay Thai. However, savate kicks must strike with the shoe, and in this regard, it differs from Thai boxing and kickboxing, which use the shin and swing the leg in a different manner. Originating in France, practitioners called saboteurs wear specially designed shoes and engage in a sport that prizes precision and agility. Techniques include a variety of kicks, punches, and combinations, usually developed from street fighting skills. Savate training emphasizes mobility, accuracy, and tactical finesse. Kyokushin Karate. Kyokushin Karate is known for its rigorous training and full-contact sparring. Masutatsu Oyama was the founder of the Kyokushin system of martial arts. After studying several martial arts styles, he found that none offered what he felt was the true way. He began practicing alone and developed his own training, fighting methods, and philosophy. Because Oyama's technique was so powerful and realistic, he gained widespread recognition in Japan, and soon a huge following of would-be students around the world wanted to follow what they coined the strongest karate. Masoyama named his system Kyokushin, which translates to the true way or the ultimate truth. Wushu. Wushu, or modern Chinese martial arts, showcases fluid, acrobatic movements with traditional Chinese weapons and barehanded techniques. It is both a full-contact sport and a performance art, since practitioners, known as Wushu athletes, train in various styles that mimic animal movements or are inspired by Chinese folklore and history. Wushu competitions feature choreographed routines judged on technique, execution, and artistic expression, similar to gymnastics. Karate. Karate originated in the Ryukyu Kingdom, now part of Japan, with influences from Chinese Kung Fu. Although karate has various different styles, many of them include striking techniques such as punching, kicking, knee strikes, and elbow strikes, along with open hand techniques like knife hands. The philosophy behind karate involves not only physical training, but also a focus on mental discipline and moral character. Practitioners learn forms, sparring, and self-defense, aiming to develop a character of self-control and respect. It uses the classic belt system that goes from white to black. Taekwondo. Taekwondo is a Korean martial art famous for its focus on high kicks and fast kicks. Just like karate, Taekwondo also aims to unite body, mind, and life, and in doing so, to promote peace. Taekwondo is mainly recognized for its head height kicks, jumping spinning kicks, and fast kicking techniques that are often used by movie actors because of its flashy style. Although it usually only consists of kicks, it became an Olympic sport in 2000, showcasing its global popularity and the athleticism required to perform its dynamic techniques. Aikido. Developed in the early 20th century in Japan, its name means the way of harmony with the spirit, and it focuses on using an opponent's momentum and movements against them. Practitioners redirect attacks rather than confronting them with force. Aikido techniques include throws, joint locks, and control over aggression. It is now practiced in over 140 countries. Aikido also separates itself from other striking arts by allowing its practitioners to wear baggy clothes to practice throws that require a grip on the opponent's clothes. Muay Thai. Muay Thai, known as the art of 8 limbs, utilizes fists, elbows, knees, and shins for striking, making it a feared and brutal stand-up fighting technique. Originating from Thailand, it has deep historical and cultural significance. Muay Thai training includes heavy physical conditioning, such as hitting the bones with hard sticks, mental discipline, and most importantly, respect for other fighters. The fights end with 2 fighters bowing and kneeling to each other, showing their respect no matter who is the winner. It is usually possible to see bracelets on fighters' arms, which is a tradition that comes from Thailand. Judo. Judo focuses on throws and ground techniques, including pins, joint locks, and chokes. Developed by Jigoro Kano in Japan, it emphasizes the principle of maximum efficiency, minimum effort. It is often seen as the standing jujutsu, since it uses Brazilian jiu-jitsu's principles in stand-up fighting. Judo is both a competitive sport and a means of self-defense, teaching practitioners to use leverage and balance to defeat stronger opponents. It also involves training with baggy clothes, just like Aikido. Systema. Systema, meaning the system in Russian, has its roots in the Russian military and has been changed over centuries. This martial art is known for its emphasis on biomechanical efficiency, flexibility, and the body's natural movements. Systema covers striking, grappling, weapon defense, and employs breathing techniques, and most importantly, dirty moves like eye-poking or biting. Although it is very similar to Krav Maga, both of which were developed by militaries, Systema separates itself by focusing on relaxation and breathing correctly to control energy consumption as much as possible, where controlling energy consumption is especially important in intense and long situations like war. It is known to be deeply influenced by Russian Orthodox Christian principles. If you want to discuss this video or suggest an idea for the next one, join my channel